Heck yeah. Yeah, and that's what I do, man. I mean, self-improvement is also working on yourself. Before you can be a leader, before you can bring your team out of that rut or that blowout, you have to be able to master what's within you.
So speaking of mastery, how does one, speaking to the audience here, how does one become a master of themselves so they can become a master of the universe, essentially?
Good point. Becoming a master of yourself, it takes a lot of trial and error.
Wow.
But becoming a master of yourself means you start honing in on, keyword, yourself. You start focusing on you.
Self-discipline.
You start understanding yourself. Take yourself through the class of, insert your name here, the class of Pa. You have to know yourself in and out. You have to pay attention and be very aware of your triggers. What gets you going? What hinders you? What do you see as a reward? All those things combined together, then you start focusing on those things and you seek, if anything, you can seek mentorship, guidance. Amongst great people, you will become great. Mac always says, iron sharpens iron, right? So to understand yourself means to have full control of your consciousness, right? And you do that through positive self-talk, positive self-action, and just getting out there. So that's how you master yourself. Learn about yourself, put yourself through the class of yourself, and educate yourself.
And make yourself do the thing that you're scared of. Because normally that's the thing you're supposed to do. When you feel that like unnecessary tension before you do the thing you know you're supposed to do, that's like a fight or flight kind of thing. So training yourself to kind of get over that hump is a positive habit that would be streamlined throughout everything else you do in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great point. It's a positive habit. So would you say that life is a consistent effort of building positive habits?
It is.
Why so?
Because through life, when you start out, your parents don't have the rule book or the playbook on how to raise you.
Right.
So there's some positive things you can take away from that, but ultimately you're gonna have to like be your own man or woman in this life and kind of like figure out what fits your lifestyle, not necessarily what you were raised with. If your parents are great, not saying all parents are good or bad. It's just that like I said, parents don't have the know-how when you're born. It's just they got to figure you out. And as an individual, you have to figure out how to conduct yourself in reality, the real world, with all the tools that universe gives you. So with that being said, it's like, well, who's going to teach you how to use those tools? How do you develop that personal structure in yourself to be able to like manhandle the world the way you need to in order to get ahead, or to get the next promotion or whatever it is, or the relationship you're looking for? It's a concerted effort to really self-define and figure out, what do I like? Like we were discussing earlier, living by yourself is a good way to isolate yourself into who you are and become particular in the things that suit you. So that way, when you get ready to meet someone that you would say, oh, this girl is nice, or this guy, whatever the case may be, is suitable for my lifestyle. Well, living alone gives you that baseline of comparison to know whether or not they're good for you or not. The same thing can be said about your next job or starting a business. It's you got to know yourself first. You can't be like a leaf blowing in the wind, and wherever direction the wind blows, that's where you're going to land. You have to have some kind of foundational structure within yourself to say, no, this is for me. I'm anchored down into truth. This is my purpose. This is why I'm here doing this thing. And once you are living in purpose, your confidence shoots up because you're no longer focused on doing irrelevancy. You're focused on doing the things that matter most, which impact your individual life, which makes you a more valuable person to society.
That was
great
deep,
point.
Man.
I want to ask you another follow-up question.
Sure.
2, if you can handle it. First one, how would you say writing down these things, how important is that?
Very. Because your brain can only handle so much. You can pile up as many memories and to-do lists in your head as you want to. But how many times have you found yourself like, oh, when I get paid or whenever this thing happens, I'm going to hit this list.
Right.
If it's mental, you may hit 3 out of 7 things on that list and forget some things. So it's very important to write things down because you're freeing your brain to be more creative. It's almost like a computer. When you turn a computer on, you have all these apps in your system tray. You're like, man, it's taking forever to load this machine. Well, your brain, what if you didn't have all those crazy erroneous thoughts just floating around? Everything was kind of just bullet points. You can actually look at your life on a piece of paper if you jot these things down and create notes about maybe the direction you want to go and start to eliminate things that don't matter versus like committing to a memory or committing to an idea that you had prior, and then like over time building the anticipation to carry this thing out, and then getting to the point where you realize, no, I really don't want to do this. How much time did you waste?
A lot.
Yeah. And time is not to be wasted.
Right. That's our most precious
That's
asset.
the most precious asset, like you just said. So the number one thing is really to, really just get as much as you can out of your brain and on paper. It works with everything, whether you're cooking a meal. There's recipes, there's ingredients, and everything is based on a certain amount of whatever it is.
Right.
Measuring cups, right? You can't just throw it in there freestyle and expect to have a good meal, right? The same thing to be said about building a computer or putting together an ad campaign or a music video. It requires careful consideration and documentation of ideas. So with that being said,
Wow, that was deep.
And
man.
I want to follow up. That was a great response. And whoever wants to take this next question, because Jason recently mentioned purpose.
purpose is everything.
I want to tap into purpose. Let's talk more about purpose.
Let's speak on
First off,
purpose.
define that for me, Mac. What's up?
So the way how I would define a purpose is, being driven, being self-driven for a definite goal backed by a definite action. This is just a quick message for our young audience right here, because both Jason and both Paul had the opportunity to speak on the state of solitary, right? And I think it's very intuitive that young men and young women, if the opportunity presents itself, you need to live by yourself alone for at least a minimum of 6 to 10 years. And within that 6 to 10 year time period, you're going to learn more about yourself. You're going to learn how to go through challenges, adversaries. You're going to learn, you're going to be able to, create a form of discipline, right? You're going to have to create some form of structure, whether that be cleaning up your house, right? A lot of people may think cleaning up your house is a very tedious task, but that's something that, can either be taught to you as an adolescent, or that's something that you can learn, because obviously you have access to the internet, to information. So, cleaning up your house, right? Being able to cook for yourself, being self-sufficient, because obviously we're living in a time period where interest rates are extremely elevated, right? We haven't seen interest rates as elevated right now as we have in the past, 2 to 4 decades, right? So we have to create ways to save money. And one of the most efficient ways of saving money right now in the year 2024 is cooking for ourselves, right? Obviously, we know that cooking is a long lost skill set, right? A lot of people don't know how to get in the kitchen, you know what I'm saying? Chop up some vegetables, season meat properly, and cook it thoroughly, you know what I'm saying?
I got a question for you though.
Oh, for sure, brother, man.
For time being such a factor in most people's lives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on with it.
And you're looking at the expense increase of groceries these days.
Yeah.
You're looking at maybe like a 5 to 6% difference in purchasing a carry-out meal versus making it yourself to save maybe an hour or two.
Yeah, so
a lot of people are starting to go towards the more prepared meal, regimen.
Absolutely, and it makes logical sense to take that approach. However, if you can create, a form of structure, a form of discipline, and actually discipline yourself to take one day out of the week. Obviously, we have 7 days a week, right? We have 24 hours a day. Use one day a week to do your meal prepping, right? Because everybody has the same 24 hours as the next man does. I have the same 24 hours as Jeff Bezos. I have the same 24 hours as Elon Musk. I have the same 24 hours as Warren Buffett. The only excuse is the ones that I'm placing upon myself. The only limitations are the ones I'm placing upon myself. So if I know that I need to stick to a plan, then I have to discipline myself, wake up early on a, whether it be a Friday night or Saturday morning, you know what I'm saying? Have my groceries in the fridge, whether I spend, $200-$300, meal prep, have enough food that can last a minimum of at least 2-3 days.
Well, see, the thing is, the argument can be made that these people you speak of, like Warren Buffett and Jeff Bezos, have cooks.
They do have cooks, and obviously, yes, that is, in my opinion, that could be looked at as an asset or a liability, right? We can't compare our lifestyles to, the one percenters, as far as wealth goes, but we can compare time and resources. Yeah. The two assets that we share with these multi-level billionaires is time and the internet.
Sounds like really it boils down to laziness and just getting yourself up and just making yourself a bowl of spaghetti